Welcome, everybody, and thanks for chiming in today. I'm just recording this one on my own just to get it out there, and then we'll do, of course, the normal Thursday thing. But today, and thank you for watching this, if you are indeed watching it at home, thank you, and for checking it out on our YouTube channel. So what I really want to talk to you about is neurology and how it impacts your walking, or walking via fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. Those are muscles that take you faster or slower. We'll get into that in a minute. Also, what is one of the best legal performance enhancing drugs there is that's totally free? You have it at your home right now. You can do this and it will give you enormous benefits, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And we are not going to have question and answer on this one because it's just a recording, but we will on Thursday night live. Every Thursday night, we do our normal coach chat, and you can find that on our Facebook site, LA Roadrunners group page. So let's dive into it, starting with neurology. Basically, you have a couple different types of muscle fibers. Most of your muscle fibers are dormant, meaning you don't ever use them. If you use them, you would need to eat more food. You may notice that toward the end of a marathon training season, you're more hungry than ever. You need to eat more food. And the reason is because as the season progresses, you do start to engage more and more muscle fibers from going really fast, going really slow, whatever. And you do need, in order to get them to fire, you need some kind of fuel, ATP, which I won't explain here. You need that fuel to fire those muscles, which almost entirely comes from food that you eat. Almost all, I shouldn't say that. All the food, most of the food that you eat goes into firing those muscles. You need food to fire those muscles. Okay. Now, fast twitch, very simply stated, it is a genetic gift. It is thicker. If you notice that people from Kenya who are sprinters, generally, or sprinters in general, have generally thicker legs than those Kenyans do who have thinner legs. You'll note most Kenyans who have thinner legs are not sprinters. Most sprinters from Jamaica are not endurance athletes. They're not marathon runners. It is a genetic thing. Fast twitch muscle fibers will obviously take you faster. Slow twitch muscle fibers will give you more, what we might consider endurance. They'll take you there farther. And then we'll talk in a minute about how you can train those muscles to go faster still on the longer distance. But fast twitch muscle fibers are pretty much genetic. Most muscles, like I said, are dormant. You know, I'd say for us non-pro athletes, you're talking about 45 to 50% max are dormant. Excuse me, it's the reverse. 45 for 50% are being engaged, and the rest are dormant on us. So most of our muscle fibers in general for us non-pro athletes are dormant. They're not usable. They're not functioning. They're just sitting there and you're moving them with the rest of your body. So the question to start with is, so why not train at race pace? And I'm only talking about neurological perspective here. We've spoken about building an aerobic base. We've talked about raising your threshold from doing these short, fast runs. We're talked about the importance of endurance training to train your body to go these long, slow efforts, to train your body to build that aerobic base. We've done all that discussions, but I want to talk about it from a neurological perspective. If, you know, you can't engage, you can't train fast twitch muscle fibers. You can recruit them if they're dormant. You can't really train them. But you can train the kind of middle, what we might call type 2 muscle fibers, these fast oxidative glycolytic muscles, which take oxygen so they can go slow and use fat for endurance. We have more fat, obviously, than glycogen from carbohydrate, and glycolytic meaning they can use glycogen, so they can go fast. So if you go fast, you can actually train your muscles these mid-level muscles, to do the same thing basically as fast twitch muscle fibers can do. That's why the Kenyan runners can go so fast, so long, because they do some minimal, at least 20 to 15% speed work, mostly midweek, in their training. They're training these mid-range fast oxidative glycolytic muscles, type 2, if you want to call it that, to go faster. Got it? So, one reason we don't do mid-range training like marathon race pace is, one, the physiological reasons, your aerobic pace and all that. But another one, from a neurological perspective, you're not going to be going slow enough to recruit those really, really slower twitch muscle fibers that that are dormant, or those faster muscle fibers that you need to train to go faster. Got it? So you want to do the extremes. And also in the middle, if you get the same physiological benefits from going a marathon race pace as you do slower, but you get far less risk of injury at going slower than marathon race pace, why would anyone want to do marathon race pace? Well, I'll tell you, there are benefits that they're finding to doing some marathon race pace, though we do most of that later on in the season. But the idea is you want to get used to the feel of marathon race pace during your marathon. Because if you're going a little too fast or a little too slow during your marathon, you may be using too much glycogen, or you may just be wasting your time. So even going up that big hill where you really need to slow down, you want to run by feel. You want to feel that hill being the same intensity level of what you would normally run marathon race pace on flat ground. Got it? So right now we're not in prep phase or pre-comp phase or any of that stuff. We're really, we are in those phases. We're really pretty early in the training season. So we're not doing a whole lot of marathon race pace. And the other question I have is, what is actually marathon race pace until you get farther in the season, when you kind of know and start locking in what marathon race pace is? You can sort of get a feel of it, but you won't really know what it is until later in the season. And basically, racing is simply, and I've heard this from pro athletes even just recently, racing is really just locking in where you are in training and execution. You're executing where you are in training. So where you feel that marathon race pace is going to be, that's what you're going to do on your race. Got it? So the extremes, running really fast, running real slow, those fast short periods, slow long periods, or a longer volume of slow work, like 80-85% minimally of slow work, 15 to 20% maximum high intensity work. Some of our schedules go down to as little as 5% fast high intensity work. Those are called polar schedules. They're polar opposites. That's kind of what you're doing. There are new schedules that basically use marathon race pace, mid-level training, what we call zone 3, where what we're doing now, easy pace, you might call zone 2. Or zone for threshold high heart rate, threshold interval pace, you might want to call zone 4, or even zone 5A for I should say repetition pace, where you're going really short period, really fast. Just below sprinting might be zone 5A. So one of the problems that I have that people tell me about is I can't go that slow, meaning that they haven't recruited muscle fibers slow enough, that slow twitch muscle fibers slow enough to take them slow enough to be at an aerobic zone 2. They can only go a little higher. And that's very common because you haven't recruited those muscles, you haven't used them yet, they're dormant. So of course you can't go that slow. It's a neurological impossibility. So how do you recruit those slower muscles? It's a catch-22. How do you go slower to recruit those muscle fibers to go slower? I'll tell you the answer. You can do a couple seconds walk, and then slowly start to run and speed up a little more, faster to a point, and then go for a couple minutes at that slow speed, as slow as you can go, and then start walking again. And then walk it out for a few seconds, and then slowly begin to engage that run, speed up a little more. Do this over and over again, and eventually you will be able to go slower. You can force yourself to do this to recruit those slowest muscle fibers that you need to go slower at an aerobic level to build that physiology, which we call endurance, to take you farther, which you need. God knows it's a marathon. It's not a 1 mile race. We're not training for 200 meters. That's a whole different type of training. We're not even training for a mile. That's different type of training as well. Or even a 5K. We're training for 26.2 miles. Got it? It's endurance, serious endurance. So you need to be able to go slow enough. A lot of people can't go that slow. You could either, like I said, slowly build that speed, or you could force yourself to simply go in that slow group on a Saturday morning, tough it out for like 3 weeks, be miserable at that slow pace, and then eventually it'll start feeling, okay, this feels good. It's not like you're breathing harder. It's like your body is telling you, I'm not used to doing this pace. It's too slow for me. It feels really awkward. That's what you're going to feel if you don't have those muscles, that slow twitch muscle fibers recruited to go that slow. Got it? So with that, so yes, there are benefits to going slower and faster too. Even neurologically, we've already discussed physiological benefits, the aerobic versus anaerobic, all that. So now I want to dive into what is one of the best performance enhancing drugs you can do that's totally free at home. It will increase your levels of hormone, which will increase strength. It will increase energy, increase motivation, rebuild muscle cells quicker. And God knows, the quicker you can recover, the quicker you rebuild those muscle cells, the more volume of training you can do. And the more volume of training you can do, pretty much within reason. If you're overtraining, that means you're not recovering quick enough. You're not rebuilding those muscle cells quick enough. But genetically, or age-wise, or if you can develop enough hormones quickly, as this will help you do at any age, you can definitely recover quicker and do more. And if you're doing more, that volume will enable you to be faster, more efficient. In other words, you'll have a greater volume of fitness. There's a term, there's just a general term, fitness, from just doing more at every level. Right? Obviously, you want to do more at low heart rate for all those reasons we just discussed. So hormones, increase in hormones will increase strength because you're rebuilding muscle tissues quicker, increase energy output because, for one thing, strength, you're getting more human growth hormone and other hormones similar to rebuild muscle cells. You get more energy just from having more of those hormones to motivate you. Also, everybody does have some male hormone that even women have a little testosterone that motivates you. It's very easy for all of us, especially women, to lose that level of testosterone as well as all those other hormones. If you're building up more and more without a taper, your hormone levels are dropping, which we've discussed in past lectures. But if you do an interval taper, you're getting more hormones. If you're doing a lot of this drug, I call it a drug, you're getting a lot more hormones as well. And we've already discussed rebuilding muscle tissues from pure growth hormone. Gwen Jorgensen was the only woman to ever win gold in the field of the sport of triathlon in the Olympics from the United States. She was on the US team in the Rio Olympics, 8-something years ago. And she's actually coming back. She's trying out for the Olympics again for next year's Paris Olympics. We'll see if she can again make the team, but she was the only U.S. contestant in the Olympics to ever win gold as a woman in triathlon, the sport. She claimed that this thing that I'm about to tell you about was the single reason that put her over the top. Obviously, she did all these other things in spades and in huge volumes, and her training was exceptional. And all of those normal things that all pro athletes do, she did those as well. But you know, it's such a highly competitive sport, and on any given day in the Olympics, there are a few people that could actually win gold. She won gold, she claims, for this reason only, and I'll tell you what that is. Here it is. Here we go. It increases strength, energy, motivation, rebuilds cells quicker, more hormones to do all those things. This is it. It's free. You can do it at home. Here it is. I love the drama to build it up. Here it is. 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. That's it. That's what will give you all those hormones, the ability to rebuild all of that, motivation, strength, energy, all of that. 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. She claimed she was getting 9 hours of sleep at night. I've heard and read discussions on the same thing, that we endurance athletes need 8 to 9 hours of sleep at night. If you want to beat yourself up, if you want to go out and get out in the morning and there's no excuses, I am hardcore, I'm going to beat myself to death, I don't care what it takes, I'm going to be fast and furious and gut-wrenching. Sleep will help you achieve those high goals. And I love motivated people. Sometimes we need to hold them back and send them to bed, say, get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. There you go. I'm pointing at all of you, myself included. 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I know that's probably not what you were expecting, but hey, it's free. You can do it at home. And it does give hormones or drugs, you might think, sort of. It gives you all of that. And it's totally legal. Anyone can go to sleep and no one will arrest you. I swear, I know. Anyway, do not look at where you are today and ask why. Look to the future and all the possibilities that lie therein and say, why not? I thank you for joining me on this video, and we will see you all at the finish line. Take care. Bye.